Welcome to the Enhanced Living Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Kruger. I believe that we all have within us the power to be everything that we were meant to be and so much more. This show is a weekly dose of practical and spiritual principles, strategies, tips, and ideas to help you grow into the best version of yourself. Here's to becoming exactly who you were meant to become. I've been called a human Swiss Army knife because I'm a TV host, inspirational speaker and coach, live event MC and DJ, certified yoga and Ayurveda teacher, functional fitness enthusiast, author, husband, and dad with a voracious appetite for knowledge, and I'll be sharing real talks with successful people from all walks of life, spiritual teachers and masters, and experts in many different fields. I'll also share my own perspective that I've gained from over 20 years of diligent meditation and spiritual work so we can all experience enhanced living. Are you ready to evolve? Let's do this. Happy Friday and welcome back to the show. You know that inner voice that nudges us in one direction or another? We all have it. We've all heard it. We've all heard it scream at us sometimes, and sometimes it's just a whisper. But do we listen to it? And can we trust it? So this week, I want to talk about following your gut. Now, I've talked about this with probably several of my guests at this point, and I was thinking about this as I'm sitting here, and I was like, I really want to discuss this specific topic because I think it's so important. So many people ignore that inner voice. You get this gut feeling that you should be doing something differently with your life, or you should be staying the course with something that everyone's telling you to quit on, or there's a myriad amount of examples of following that inner voice or ignoring that inner voice. And I think it's super, super important. So, for example, I listened to my inner voice back when I decided to move to LA. I had this inner feeling of, it's time to leave. You have to go. This is what you need to do. And my logical mind went, well, how do I know if this is true? How do I know if this is real? Maybe it's a pipe dream. Maybe what am I going to do once I get there? I have no job lined up. I have no way of citizenship. I have no way of being there legally. Like, what do I do? And I just said, you know what? This is a gut feeling. I know I need to do it. So I'm just going to trust that things are going to open up and it's all going to work out. And so I did. And that was 17 years ago. And I'm here. And I started listening before I ever made that move. I would listen to my gut instincts. I would listen to my intuition, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's really all the same thing. And I've listened since. I haven't stopped. Anytime I've had that gut feeling, I went for it 100%. There was no holding back. There was sure, there were points where I second guessed and I doubted, but in the end, I followed my intuition and I followed my gut. Now, the question then, of course, becomes, how do you know that it's a gut feeling and not a desire or a wish or a fear or anything else, a doubt, whatever you're thinking? How do you know that it's an intuitive feeling, the inner nudge, that inner voice, your higher self going, hey, listen, this is where you need to be, go for it? How do you know? Well, it's very simple. The difference is when you have a fear-based thought, there's a fear attached to it. So whenever you think to yourself, oh, I shouldn't do that, and then instantly it's like, because you might get hurt, or you might this, or you might that, that's a fear that's slipping in. Or the same as, I want to do this. This would be great. Well, why? What's riding that feeling? I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be whatever. I'm so sick and tired of listening to so-and-so. That's how you know that it's an emotion-based feeling as opposed to that gut instinct, that inner voice, that intuition, your higher self telling you what to do. When it's your higher self, when it's an intuition, it's a simple knowing. There's nothing attached to it. There's nothing good or bad. There's nothing fear-based, love-based. There's nothing anything-based. It's just a straight up, I really need to do this. This is important for me to do right now. How do I know? I don't know. I just feel like I have to. That's how you know it's your intuition. I just feel like I have to. Well, what about this? I don't know. I have no idea how it's all going to work out, but I just know I have to. That's how you know it's your gut. How do you become good at actually hearing your gut speak to you, or that inner voice or that inner knowing? How do you become more adept at it? Well, that's very simple. The more often that you can become quiet and still. So that's through meditation, or even if you just want to sit and contemplate your thoughts, whatever works for you. the more often you practice that sitting in stillness, the better you're going to become at being able to recognize when those intuitive thoughts, when they come in, those intuitive feelings, when you just kind of know, you'll be better at understanding that that's what's going on the more often you sit in stillness. So that's what you need to do. Now, I want to kind of tell a story because sometimes it comes in a dream. Sometimes I don't know if you're like me or if you're not, but for the most part, I don't remember my dreams. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll maybe have a flash and then it's gone. And then the rest of the day, I just don't remember my dreams. But there are certain times when I do. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that sometimes my dreams come back to me in a deja vu where I'll be in a position and I'll go, oh my God, I remember this dream, because it takes you back to the dream in that moment. And then, nothing really, eventful happens, but I just remember that I dreamt it. Other times I'll have the dream and I'll wake up and it is clear as a bell. I hear everything that went on. I see it in my mind's eye and I know it. And those are the times when it's usually a mission. It's usually something that I have to listen to. So I'm going to give this example. This was back in, I want to say 2016. And I was in a place where work was a little bit thin. I hadn't booked any hosting work for a little while. I was kind of tired of doing events, which is so absurd to me to think about right now because I love doing events and I totally cannot wait to get back to doing events. But I was in that place and I was like, maybe I'll get a full-time job. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. I wasn't sure what I was thinking. And when I say full-time job, I mean 9 to 5 working in an office as opposed to the alternative lifestyle that I've been living where I've been hosting and doing events and working on television jobs when they're there. Of course, sometimes they last for a while. Sometimes they disappear very quickly. It's like a one-day thing. I was looking for maybe a little more consistency. And I remember that a casting notice came through for a project that I ultimately ended up well, actually, no, I didn't do that one. So anyway, the casting notice came through and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to respond to this. And so I went to bed and I remember waking up the next morning. I had a dream and the dream was someone basically yelling at me, don't give up on your hosting career. You can't do that. It's not okay. And I woke up with that on my mind, like straight away. Like as soon as I woke up, that was all I could think of. And I was like, okay, fine. Message heard loud and clear. So I responded to the casting notice and I got called in, which by the way, if you've never been in the industry, whether it's acting or hosting or even dancing or any of those things, when you're auditioning to perform in some capacity, if you've never experienced that, it's a very simple thing. You submit your materials, and if the person casting the project decides that they think you're possibly right for it, then they will call you in. So just getting an audition is such a huge thing because a lot of people don't even get those opportunities. I remember having a conversation with friends saying, hey, yeah, no, we don't call them auditions, we call them opportunities, because that's what they are. And just getting that opportunity, that takes work to get to that point where your portfolio is good enough to have you called in. So I digress. The point is, I was called in. And I remember going in and I remember meeting with literally a room full of people who were casting this project. And I felt like I was doing okay. But at the end of the day, I didn't book it. But a different online network was actually casting for the exact same project. I didn't know it was going to be in competition with the one that I had gone in for. And they brought me in for something completely different. And I left that appointment going, yeah, I didn't get it. The first one I left thinking I got it. The second one I left thinking I didn't get it. And of course, I ended up booking the second one and not the first. And that led to me hosting 2 more shows on that same network. So I was lead hosting 3 separate shows on the same thing. And it led to me being exactly where I am right in this moment. The point that I'm trying to make is, had I not listened to that intuitive nudge, that little foreshadowing dream that came to me, because I had the nudge before when I was thinking of just giving up on everything, my gut was telling me, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. It's silly. And I was logically trying to push down my gut instinct and my intuition. And the dream came through clear as a bell. And I was like, okay, well, I have to listen. And I did. And I'm so grateful that I did. The point that I'm trying to make here with today's episode is this. You know deep down what's best for you. You do. You know it. If you can strip away the fear, if you can strip away any of the uncertainty, if you can strip away all the nonsense and noise of the ego, and you can just get clear and listen to your inner self, which is your higher self, if you can sit there and really get clear on who you are and really listen to what you need as a soul, as a being, and follow that. Your gut will never steer you wrong. Always, always listen to your intuition. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Friday. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Enhanced Living Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, feel free to reach me directly at enhancedliving.net. Thanks for listening.